Right, hello everybody, welcome to the Clery football channel, where Tottenham have literally just right now sacked Thomas Frank, and yeah, you can sort of see why they've done that. They were only 3 points off the drop at one stage this week, with Forest and West Ham both hitting a bit of form. 3 consecutive London derbies up next, and then Liverpool after. No matter what you may think of this decision, you can understand why, if you were running a football club, there would be a little bit of panic setting in. So yeah, let's have a look at this, Thomas Frank's Tottenham, and show you why it was not working, but also how realistic is it that another manager could take this and stop it just sliding out of the division, because again, that is a possibility. Right, so just quickly before we start, a reminder that ACFC is brought to you as ever by our data friends at FotMob. You'll see some of their stats and whatnot on screen during the video, but they also have that, the lineups, the fixtures, loads of other cool stuff. We really like them. It's on my phone right now, and you can have it on yours by clicking the link in the description. They're dead good. But anyway, yes, Thomas Frank's Tottenham, and we already covered this like a month ago. They put in a shocking performance against Aston Villa, and we did sort of like an in-depth video looking at the problems they were having, and I'm not going to rehash too much of that here because it's all still relevant, but the key takeaways were thus. There were just too many moments like this, right? Spurs push forward, they're aggressive, but they repeatedly either have no forward passing option or opt not to take one when it's there. And honestly, when I was doing this video, I lost count of the amount of moments like this, right? Where Paulinho has no forward option. Moore does not get into the space here. Nobody gets into the box here. Paulinho again has no option here, and they wind up working this situation at the final third into just a long, hopeful punt from their own half. So on the ball, there was no clear identity, but then off the ball, which this situation had now put them in, they press really aggressively, but Villa beat that first line of pressure in their own box so easily, and then sucker both the midfielders into trying to rush them and just take them out with one pass. Porro then rushes over to try and cover, but doesn't get there. It's knocked off to Rodgers, and it takes this brilliant intervention from Mickey van der Ven to stop that just being a clear run through on goal. So in the space of like 2 minutes, you've seen evidence of a team that does not have a clear plan on the ball and does not have an effective plan off it either. And the reason I want to show you those specific moments from last month is because in the time since, right, Thomas Frank had not fixed Tottenham by any stretch of the imagination, but there were slowly some signs of improvement. Against Man City, in the second half at least, this 4-4-2 block that Aston Villa were playing through with total ease, like we highlighted that in the video as well, that first goal is about as embarrassingly easy as you were ever going to see. Against Man City, it was a lot more robust. Like here, they try and play through it, but with Gallagher and Sarr in the middle, they cover the passing lanes really well, they can see what's going on around them, they intercept the ball, and Tottenham should score from this breakaway upfield. And don't get me wrong, they're only small improvements, they're not making a massive difference, but there were more and more examples of things like that, which did suggest, if nothing else, that his ideas might finally be starting to work. Likewise, against Man United, I thought they looked really good until the red card. He had a really high man-to-man press that was unsettling Carrick's build-up. Then they would drop into this low 4-4-2 block that was cutting off the middle of the pitch, and then get straight into a 3-2-5 in attack that was quite unlucky, I thought, to not get them a goal. In fact, even at 10 men, I thought they defended really well for the most part, and it did start to feel in that second half like they might snatch an equaliser that they probably merited. But of course they didn't, did they? They gave away another goal, they lost 2-0, and that is pretty much the entire point. Romero's red card meant that Thomas Frank not only had to change his game plan in this match, but with the suspension for the next 4 games as well. So whatever momentum or understanding or cohesion was starting to build in this team was once again now gone. And I do think, honestly, if you're trying to understand why this team never felt like it had a coherent identity from week to week, right? You have to look at just how disrupted this season was for them. Them getting back into the Champions League has been great in terms of the results, but the automatic qualification and the results they've had have masked just what an impact this has had on the playing squad. This is Transfermarkt's unavailability table for Tottenham's first team. And look, yes, I know, every single club has injuries, right? And navigating them is part of a manager's job. But still, that is genuinely quite extraordinary. Maddison and Kulusevski, 2 fundamental parts of Tottenham's identity, have not played a single minute under this manager. Mohamed Kudus was their major success story at the start of the season. He did his hamstring over the new year and is going to miss most of the rest of the season. Dominic Solanke has only just come back after 2 substitute appearances in the opening games. Richarlison, Bergvall, Bentancur, Porro, Udogie, Davies and Danzo have all picked up something this year that is currently keeping them out. Simmons got a 3-match ban, Basuma missed every game and then still went to AFCON, and your captain, Christian Romero, just as you were getting a little bit of form together and starting to turn a corner, tweets that the club is full of snakes and liars and then gets a 4-match ban for a tackle that would still start a full fistfight if you did it in a Power League game. A complete and proper, you knew what you were doing there, mate, if I have ever seen one. Now, these injuries, in my opinion, do not fully excuse the league table. Your job as a manager is to instill an identity, a personality, a system, a mindset, anything that ensures that if you are missing the players required to thrive, then the ones who come in will at least make sure you don't then collapse. You need clear ideas, you need consistent ideas, you need ideas that help build a togetherness both on the pitch and in the stands, which is ultimately what buys you time and credit with the players and with the fans and with the owners. And Thomas Frank, I still think is a good coach. Like, he'll almost certainly get another job in this division, and I would bet probably do quite well in it. But he did fail spectacularly to build an environment that could withstand all of this. Like, I always think people forget that when you are managing a football team, you have to manage them as people as much as you have to manage them as players. And the glaring thing about Thomas Frank's Tottenham was even when they did play well, even when their form improved, you could sense that lack of togetherness. Like, ultimately, it's the Newcastle game that's got him sacked, and it was only 2-1. They had a great chance at the end to get something, so it's not disastrous on paper. But I watched that, and the whole way through, the contrast between the attitude and the body language of the Newcastle players and the Tottenham players was alarming. But Newcastle are on a terrible run as well. Their manager was under massive pressure, but you could see that the players were playing for him and playing for each other, whereas Tottenham just weren't. Case in point here, right? Spurs are breaking away at 1-1. This is a great opportunity, but Conor Gallagher gets his feet tangled and he fudges the pass, killing the move. And if you just pause that at the exact right second, right? Look at the reactions from Tell and from Simmons. That is total frustration. Their arms are in the air. They basically stop playing because they're in a huff. And even Spence behind them is having a pop at Gallagher. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely get it. I've definitely been Tell and Simmons in that situation, but still, you're in a bad moment. You need to come together, and there is nothing supportive going on here. It even looks like Simmons turns around and starts giving him a load of grief for it. But the worst part about this isn't the reaction, right? It's the fact that the ball is still in play. And all of a sudden, this is the 4-4-2 block Tottenham is supposed to be in, out of possession. There's no reaction from the players to reorganise, and Newcastle turn it around and just play through them. And yes, fair enough, you are frustrated. Your teammate has made a massive mess of that, but you still have to react in the right way. But there's no pressure put on Ramsey, and then Barnes drops and there's no pressure put on him so he can get it in all this space and he turns. Bear in mind the ball's gone from Newcastle's goalkeeper now to the edge of Tottenham's own box. Anthony Gordon gets it. He's got time, he can turn, he can shimmy. It's only even Gallagher who's bothered working back to try and get some solidity here. And this, again, is the shape they're in when it should be a 4-4-2 block. And it is, quite fittingly, this moment that cost them the game. Like from here, Gordon turns, he dribbles, he comes out, and he attacks this space again, all with no real pressure on him whatsoever. And it's a great finish from Ramsey, sure, but nobody has really gone with him as he's followed his initial pass. So for the second time in about 20 seconds, when that ball hits the net, look at the reactions. Everybody is just blaming everybody else. Van de Ven turns and gestures at the space Gordon was allowed to attack to seemingly nobody. Simmons has had enough. Everybody's pointing fingers at each other. Vicario's losing his head. Just, like, fundamentally, right, you do not have to be a good team to be a good team, if that makes any sense. But the point is Tottenham are neither. And it's a hard one to analyse because how many Tottenham goals have you seen this season where there is some baffling individual mistake? Both of the goals against Man City, holding onto the ball too long and then playing a blind pass into the middle of the pitch. Malik Chow's before this, where two players somehow get beaten to the ball after the save, despite them both being favourites. And on every single one, you look at the body language, you look at the finger pointing, you look at people shouting at each other, and that's before you even include all those clips of the players visibly undermining the manager in public. However, what is the manager's fault is that he has failed to build an environment that either A, helps to reduce these mistakes, or B, responds well as a team when they do happen. And that is both really important and on him. And what that means in reality is that when they do have bad results, they don't then bounce back. They spiral instead, and things get worse before they get better. Like, just to use Newcastle again as a comparison, they had a terrible result at the weekend. That was devastating, getting beat that late to Brentford at home. But a few days later, they've turned up here, played really well, deservedly won, and when they've celebrated at the end, they've pushed their manager right to the front in front of the fans because he's under pressure as well. And you can see that collective desire to go and turn things around, to work hard for each other, to show that they're behind Eddie Howe. And just Tottenham felt like the complete opposite of that in this game. And I'm sure the root of all of these problems will get revealed in time. Like Matt Law in the Telegraph's already reported that even from day one, most of the work was on what to do out of possession, how to nullify the opposition, rather than working on how they could hurt opponents. And the players really didn't like that. They're supposed to be Tottenham. They're supposed to be winning games, not just not losing them. And yeah, when you look at the results, I guess that carries. They've had a few good results against the big teams when they've worked really hard off the ball, but they've lacked any real cutting edge against their opponents who sit back. And yes, well observed, not unlike Thomas Frank's Brentford. But the problem there, of course, is that most of Brentford's games are against better teams where they do have to prioritise what they do off the ball, whereas Tottenham's, if you look at the wage bill and the money spent and the alleged quality of the players, are not. They should be spending most games on the front foot. And I will simply have to take the L on this one because I thought this was a really good appointment back in the summer. I can't pretend I didn't, but even still, we did a video quite early on saying that the problem with Thomas Frank as Tottenham manager was that Thomas Frank still seemed to think he was Brentford manager, and he never really fixed that. And yes, I do think he was showing some signs of turning it around and probably deserved until the end of the season, but we look again at the league table. I don't think if you're running a football club in a responsible manner, you can really afford to take that risk. And they haven't. But yes, I know what the next question you're going to have is, who could possibly fix all of this for them? Obviously, Roberto De Zerbi, that's a tantalising prospect. I think Robbie Keane, who's at French Javavarosh, however you say it at the minute, he'd be quite a fun option, but yeah, I've got no idea. I don't know if they can get Glasner. I don't know if they can get Areola. I don't even know right now if they should. But thankfully, that is what you, Mr. or Ms. Tottenham fan, are here for. So how would you replace the outgoing Thomas Frank in the Tottenham Hotspur hot seat? I presume that's what everybody calls it. Let us know down below. Would you even sacked him? Do you think he deserved until the end of the season? I'd be interested in that opinion as well. But if not, if you're glad to see the back of him, who do you want to replace him? I'm busy. Please don't say me, but you can get me across all the social medias at Adam Clery, Clery. Thanks once again to our data pals, FotMob, whose app you should absolutely be downloading right this very second because it is very, very good. You can subscribe to us here at the Adam Clery Football Channel if you haven't done already. And until next time, which, what will that be? Probably when they appoint somebody new, actually. Next video will be Tottenham as well. I'll see you then. Goodbye. Oh, sorry, why am I dressed like this? Don't worry about it. You'll see in a couple of weeks' time. We were filming a thing and not expecting to have to do this. I've been caught with my trousers. I'm going to shut up. Goodbye.